All right, well, we'll go ahead and get started. As Colin said, thank you so much for joining us on your lunch break today. This is our virtual info session on our Boston's Future Leaders program. There we go. We've got quite a bit packed in for this next hour together on the webinar. I'll do a brief welcome and introduction about the Chamber and the Learning and Development Department. We'll do a program overview, of course, of Boston's Future Leaders. We'll talk about graduation requirements, previous class results to share you the successes. And then Colin will go over our recruitment and application process. And then we have two BFL alumni here to share their experiences and tell you more about the program from their perspective. And then at the end, of course, we'll have some time for questions and chat. So without further ado, I'll actually introduce myself. My name is Erin Wedderbrook-Yaskaitis. I am the Director of Learning and Development here at the Greater Boston Chamber of Commerce. And my colleague, Colin Wilson, who's also on the call, is our Learning and Development Program Manager. We are a small but mighty team, but our passion is providing top quality professional development programs to our member companies and all the employees who come through the Chamber. And how we do that is through our portfolio of offerings. So I do this to show you, one, what we have to offer, because if BFL is not an option for whatever reason this year, there are going to be other opportunities, and we want you to understand where it sits. It's considered a long-term cohort program, because as you'll learn, it's a 10-month program. It's in the same category as our Women's Leadership Program, which some of you may have heard of as well. In addition to both of those, which are, as I said, longer term, bigger financial investment, we offer corporate workshops, which are available to book through the Chamber and bring it into your company. So we have a series called Creating an Inclusive Workforce. And this is really well suited for HR or people and talent teams to bring in like a Chamber sanctions facilitator, who incidentally is a Boston's Future Leaders grad, to facilitate a 1.5 hour to 3 hour virtual or in-person session on creating an inclusive workforce. In addition to that, coming up, we're going to be offering in 2025 half and full day seminars. The topics are going to vary, and it's going to depend on what kind of feedback we're getting from our members. And these are the short term. So these are great options for more junior staff or people who have less of the ability to make such a big time commitment. It can just be a half or a full day. Usually the half days we'll do virtually and full days we'll do in person. Now, I do want to say a word about the Chamber, because for some of you, you may not know everything that we have to offer, but we are an independent nonprofit organization that is the convener, voice, and advocate of our region's business community. And we work in tandem with our broad membership. We have about 1,200 member companies to make Greater Boston the best place for all businesses and all people to thrive. And we do that in a number of ways. First, we offer about 100 events per year that range from networking events to panel discussions to government affairs forums. We have so many different offerings, it's often hard to keep straight. But the best place to make sure you're staying up to date with what events we have coming up is our website. And as I mentioned, we have a government affairs forum series. We have our Women's Network, which offers a variety of programs. We have our Boston Interactive Media Association, which is for digital marketing and advertisers. We have our City Awake Network, which is for young professionals under the age of 30. Let's see. Oh, and then we also have our big events, like our annual meeting and our Pinnacle Awards. So there's always something happening at the Chamber, and we love for our members to send their employees. Second, we have a policy arm to the Chamber. So as we are enmeshed in the business community, we are a 501c6. So we do lobby, and we take into account different policy areas that are important to our business members. And that can range from climate and energy to housing and infrastructure, to talent development and retention. Let's see. Our learning and development portfolio falls in the third category, and that's professional development for our member companies, the longer term relationship building. And then finally, we have an economic inclusion arm as well. That's where our Pace Setters network falls, our Massachusetts Apprentice Network. That's the part where we focus more on racial and wealth equity and focus more on the people and getting people to thrive, not just businesses. So we have a pretty well-rounded staff and a well-rounded offerings, and just want to make sure that everyone understands what that entails. And the other good thing is that when a company is a member of the chamber, that's a corporate level. So that means every employee is a member of the chamber. It can take advantage of our offerings. All right, so now let's go into the program overview of Boston's Future Leaders. So as it says on the slide, this is the main spiel for BFL, which is that it's a program that provides emerging and promising leaders with a socially conscious and civically engaged leadership toolkit, blending academic content, practical application, and social capital. Our goal is to have participants graduate with the skills, experiences, and connections needed to lead Boston into an equitable and innovative future. So we do that in a variety of ways, and I want to walk you through the creation of the program and the curriculum itself. So this program was created to assist member companies with retaining and developing their talent. And we're now almost 20 years strong in tweaking, strengthening, and revamping this ever popular and ever competitive program. And we see all of this as a cyclical process. So activating our region's talent, helping them tap into their leadership identities, and encouraging them to collaborate across industries ultimately builds a better Commonwealth and Boston, which then contributes to retaining the talent. So we like to use this to illustrate what our goals are. So we keep employee development for maximum impact in mind with the creation of this curriculum. So there's different ways to look at it. With impactful change being our goal, we want to make sure that the employee or the individual is developing on the individual level, at the team or organizational leadership level, and then at a level where they're going to make societal change. That's where that civically engaged toolkit comes into play. So we continue to challenge participants to look at their circles of influence, starting with behavioral change in themselves, followed by how do they influence their teams, their companies, how do they manage up, and ultimately serving as change agents and innovators for our city and region. And this approach ensures maximum impact. Under each bucket, you'll see the different topics that we tackle. So I mentioned the Chamber program core components in the description of BFL, but I want to take a minute to focus on them because this is what makes Chamber L&D programs unique. So when I mentioned academic content, we partner with Harvard Business School with this program. They're our exclusive academic partner. With our women's leadership program, we partner with Simmons University Institute for Inclusive Leadership. So we are committed to top quality academic content. In addition to that, we partner with other leadership facilitators to make sure that participants hear from a variety of voices. They are not just hearing from Harvard faculty. In addition to that, the practical application piece, sorry, I'm getting a Teams message. The practical application piece is crucial because we want your employees or you to take what you're learning back to the workplace immediately. We want immediate implementation. If it's not practical, it's not going to be helpful or relevant to the company. So that is a huge piece of what we do. And the social capital piece is the people. How can we connect all of the participants? And again, the benefit of a chamber program is these cross-industry, cross-sector connections and networks that are built. That is not something that you'll often get in other types of programs. Here in BFL in particular, the ages range from 25 to 50, and it's all industries, all backgrounds, all levels within companies. It is the most diverse program that we offer. which makes it incredibly exciting and incredibly beneficial in terms of building your network. So I want to break down those program components and show you how that fits into the different buckets. So with the academic content piece, you can see that we do leadership frameworks through Harvard Business School Executive Education. We have 2 different modules that take place on site at Harvard. In addition to that, the skill building piece is where we bring in other leadership consultants. So we have 3 different consultants or groups that come in to lead sessions on adaptive supervision, DEI frameworks and inclusive leadership, and then also innovative approaches to communication. Where the practical application piece comes in is clearly the skill building, and an argument can be made for leadership frameworks as well. We're wanting those skills that are learned to be put into place. But in addition to that, we put a big focus on taking action. So what does this look like in action? Everybody does an individual action project, which is a project of their choosing. We provide the guardrails and the parameters, but it's a project that has impact at the company, something that the participant has been wanting to attack for a while. We also have all participants do a leadership challenge where they work together in project teams to solve a real world timely problem for a particular company that is of the moment. So they're solving for a company that is not their own and working in those cross-industry teams. And then finally, the social capital piece. That is still a very important part, and we facilitate that in a variety of ways. So in addition to the in-person sessions, we do have some virtual sessions, but we offer a LinkedIn private group for everybody to stay connected online. We have a class website where all of the materials from each session can be found, pre-work, slides, articles. As I mentioned, we put participants in project teams so that you get to know a small group extremely well, in addition to the other classmates in the cohort. We have 2 official networking sessions as part of the schedule, and everyone is encouraged to stay for those. They take place right after a session. And then the informal interactions. As many of you may know from attending conferences or other types of professional development, those informal interactions and the conversations that take place before and after, during lunch, those are crucial as well to the relationship building and network building. All right, so what is the commitment? There are 10 required sessions and 1 optional over 10 months. So the school year, if you will, is March to December. And what that translates to is about 54 total hours of program time. So that's direct time in session. And we estimate approximately 40 hours of additional time for the pre-work that's required, preparing for the sessions, the individual action project, and the leadership challenge, which both require out of class time to accomplish. The sessions range in length of time from 2 to 8 hours. So we do have some that are short, maybe 2 to 3 virtual, and then the in-person ones are the ones that tend to be longer. And we do have some, the Harvard ones in particular, that are 8 hours. 8 of the sessions are in person, as I mentioned, 2 are virtual. All of them are required, and then we'll go over graduation requirements in terms of attendance in just a minute. But I do this to give you a sense that while it is a massive commitment, it is also manageable. And this is why buy-in from the company is essential to spare the employee for the time that they're in session, which is those 54 hours. But if you look at that spread out over 10 months, it is quite manageable. And the investment is $6,000 per participant. An interesting thing that we are exploring for next year and will be launching is opening up this program to non-chamber members. So currently, and previously, I should say, it's only been open to chamber members. But we also realize there are a lot of companies out there that do not have chamber membership for whatever reason. However, obviously, there is a benefit to being a chamber member because the price tag is lower. So for non-member pricing, which is now set, we just haven't announced it on our website, it's an additional $2,000 per participant. So it does it is beneficial to maintain your membership just from that standpoint. But it is going to be something that we're opening up more and more to other people. Okay. What does the program schedule look like? In March and April, we kick everything off. So orientation and the first module at Harvard Business School takes place. By April, we do an individual action project kickoff and the first networking session. There's a lot of getting to know the other participants, getting to know the staff, et cetera, in those first 2 sessions. In May and June, we move more into skill building, and we're looking at the DEI frameworks or inclusive leadership and a session on adaptive supervision. For the summer months, we move more into skill building with innovative approaches to communication. And then we have our the introduction to the leadership challenge. So the kickoff for that is, what is the challenge this year? Who are we partnering with? What are the project teams? And what are they going to be challenged to do? In the fall, the optional session is to attend a government affairs forum. And typically that is the forum that's with the mayor. Since it takes place in September, that's traditionally held for whoever is mayor at the time. And we reserve a table for BFL. So it's whoever wants to and can attend. The reason that's optional is because we don't know the dates well ahead of time, as government affairs forums are planned around the schedules of the speakers. And then we go back to Harvard Business School for Module 2 in the fall. One thing to note is that the first module with Harvard Business School is a day and a half. So it's a half day on Thursday with dinner and a full day on Friday. And the module in the fall is just 1 full day. And then closing out the year, it's quite an intense part of the year. But we have the Leadership Challenge Charrette, where all of the project teams present their solutions to the panel of judges and the senior leadership team from whatever company we're partnering with. We have a virtual session on our Pacesetters Supplier Diversity program and talk more about civic engagement and the kinds of change that we can make on a personal level and a company level. And finally, at the very end, everyone gets to present their individual action projects to each other, verbal presentations, and then we have a fantastic graduation ceremony to celebrate everyone's success and hard work. Okay, so for graduation requirements, in terms of attendance, for the Harvard Business School sessions, you have to attend both in order to get the HBS certificate. So it's a little confusing because it's part of BFL, but it's Harvard, and they want to control, obviously, who's getting any kind of certificate. So they issue their own, and you have to attend all of Module 1 and all of Module 2 in order to get that. Over that full schedule that you just saw, 80% overall attendance is required in order to earn the BFL certificate from the chamber. And attendance at the Leadership Challenge Charrette is required. So when these dates are set, that is something that's important that potential applicants need to make sure that they will be available for those particular sessions, and the dates are already going to be included in the application. For participation, we want people to be involved. I mean, most of the candidates that are nominated and are selected are high performers, high potentials, and involved in the community. So active participation in class is key. You get out of it what you put into it. Active participation in and contributions to the Leadership Challenge project teams. And then finally, active participation in the LinkedIn private group and the networking sessions. So on that person-to-person level, on the class level, and interacting with facilitators, and then also contributing to the work that the team does for the Leadership Challenge. And then in terms of the individual action project, completion of the whole process is required, whether or not the actual project has been completed. So because that varies widely depending on the size of the company, what the project is, we, again, like I said, we provide the parameters, but we also understand that some big projects can take years. So really what's required is participation in the topic reporting, the pre and post survey, and producing a final report and doing that verbal presentation with an understanding that everybody's is very different. So a moment to share some previous class results. Yesterday, we actually wrapped up class of 2024. So I don't have the data from that yet because we haven't closed out everything officially. So I have data to share from the past 2 years prior. So from the class of 2023, 79% of the class said they're satisfied with BFL as a professional development opportunity. Oh, and also I should just take a moment to say that I just pulled the most exciting statistics, so they're a little bit different from each class year. 73% said they expanded their network of those cross-industry connections that we talked about. 72% believed that BFL strengthened their understanding and passion for civic engagement, which is key. We want our BFL grads to be the future change makers of the city and the region. And 63% expanded their job responsibilities and prepared for the next level of leadership within their companies, which is very exciting to see. This was our class of 2022, and we have some results from that class. 82% felt prepared for the next phase of leadership. 80% expanded their network through cross-industry connections. 62% felt they increased their knowledge of and involvement in the greater Boston region. And another exciting one, it's a lower percentage, but considering what it is, we're very excited to see that 36% started leading a new team or project during the program. So what we've been seeing throughout the years is that when a company is supporting a BFL participant, they're often poised to be moving up or moving into the next phase of their career. And I also like to share this quote. I mean, testimonials are worth their weight in gold, and we like to share them. And this is from one of our Leadership Challenge winners. So there were 2 team winners last year, and Michaela Menard was on the winning team. And we asked her just to write about her experience. And she said, the Boston Future Leaders Program has been a tremendous learning and networking experience. Every session is high quality and well executed and focuses on topics that are relevant to growing leaders in the Boston area. The Harvard sessions are unmatched and a true highlight of the program. The best part for me, however, was meeting and getting to know the individuals in my group and working with them on the Leadership Challenge. It's always nice to hear it from the participants themselves. Now, with that, I'd like to hand it over to my colleague, Colin, who will talk you through recruitment and applications.
Hello, everyone. Before I begin, I would like to just gauge on who here is here for the program themselves and who is an advocate of their company and is looking to maybe promote or put in a an applicant for their company. If you could put that in the chat, that'd be great. Awesome. I'll also share my email in the chat, and please please email me with any questions about recruitment. As Aaron said, that's my main role for BFL, and I'll get into that now if you'd like to move the slides, Aaron. Awesome. So just to go over some quick bullet points for eligible candidates. Those are identified as emerging or promising leaders in companies or community, employed at a chamber member company. But as Aaron said, we will be changing that this cycle. Between the ages of 25 to 50, committed to contributing to the long-term success of the city and region, dedicated to that full participation, exhibit diverse background, perspective, and demographic, and bring the unique perspective to the cohort. And strong applicants have that manager and company buy-in. As we said, there is a pretty big requirement of hours throughout that 10-month period. So we just want to make sure that managers in both company are A, aware that you're in the program, and B, are just aware that you have to commit to be fully involved in this program. Also, a well-written recommendation, thoughtful and succinct application question responses. A minimum of a year employed at current company is great. poised for that next career level, demonstrate skills in collaboration and management, and small and mid-sized companies and nonprofits are especially encouraged. And here is a selection process. We are right in the thick of it right now. As Aaron said, last night we actually celebrated the 2024 class. So now we are moving on right into recruitment. The recruitment is on its way in December. The applications are due January 31st. So January is a busy time for myself, just trying to get all those nominations and applications in. And then in February, we will review those applications and notify all the applicants about their selection into the program around mid-February. And then we will kick off the program in mid-March, starting in Harvard, doing an afternoon session on that Thursday, and then a full day session on Friday. And here are a few tips for success. If you want to just click all the way through that, Aaron, thank you. Yeah, so some big ones. Please be aware that there is both a nomination form and an application form to complete. The nomination alone does not secure access to the program. And please, just to make my life easier, get those nominations in sooner rather than later. Don't wait until the deadline, and same for those applications. Like I said, the nomination and application are both due. So you obviously can use all the month of January, but if you do nominate an applicant towards the end, then you're giving them a very small time to complete that application. So we just ask that you fill out that nomination by middle of January. Please give your, as I just went over, give your nominees enough time to complete their application, and make absolutely sure the session dates do not conflict with your calendar before completing the application and signing those chamber policies. Like we said, obviously we are flexible and we will work with you, but please just make sure that those dates make sense. And like I said, please email me with any questions about dates or anything. We are willing to work with you and want you to be in this program. So just please email me with any of those questions, and we will do our best to make it work.
And to add to that, to what Colin just said, we would rather you reach out and ask question of, I've got X, Y, and Z going on. Does it make sense for me to apply this year? We can always talk you through if it makes sense to submit that application, if you want to wait. But a lot of times people will reach out and think that they're no longer eligible, and they actually are. So if you're interested and have any questions, it's always better to ask and make that connection with Colin initially.
Totally.
Instead of just assuming you shouldn't apply.
Yeah, please don't assume. Just be transparent with us, and we'll be transparent right back and try to make it work. And we'll usually come up with that solution.
Yeah, so we'll pause right here before we move into our alumni panel and just allow for any questions that you may have. We just presented quite a bit. It's a lot in a 25-minute time period. So, okay, Rob, yes.
What's up, guys? Yeah, I have a couple questions. I'll start with the lightest one. It looks like the cohort size is what, between 50 to 60 people, and do you anticipate that being about the similar size for the next group?
It's actually bigger than that. This year we're capping it at 85.
Okay. And then my other question is, I know a lot of the conversation has been around folks that are working at organizations. What about solopreneurs?
Yes, I'm glad you brought that up. So while I would say the vast majority of our participants are from companies, we do have and have had in the past sole proprietors. And what we do with anybody who is self-paying is we are much more flexible with tuition payment and how to spread that out. Whereas with larger companies, we send the tuition, like an invoice for the full tuition at once. Because we understand that for a sole proprietor, that's a huge lift financially. But what I will say is in the most recent years, Colin and I have been very dedicated to getting a wider variety of perspectives in the cohort. And we need the voices of nonprofit professionals, sole proprietors, and people from smaller businesses. So we definitely encourage you to apply. And the other thing is, if you're selected, then like Colin said, we're flexible every step of the way. And our goal is your success and top experience in this program to make sure that you're developing professionally. So we'll always try to work with those who need, either a more broadened timeline or any kind of situation where just a little bit extra help.
Okay, I'll pause or see if anyone else has any questions before I might ask a few more.
Okay, any other questions? So now I'm going to stop my slideshow here and bring up our fabulous BFL alumni. So I am pleased to introduce two alumni who I know very well. One is Mike Brooks from BFL 2020, and one is a brand new BFL grad from the class of 2024, just graduated yesterday, Jay York. And I'm going to hand it over to both of you. I'm going to ask you a few questions, but to start us off, if you can just introduce yourself, where you work, and talk, I would say, brief overview about what the BFL experience was like for you. I mean, one thing I'll just say is I'm glad that you're getting the perspective of somebody who's a more seasoned alumni, and Mike has been very involved with the chamber for years, and somebody who is a brand new alumni, fresh off that excitement from graduation. So I'm going to hand it over. Let's start with Mike to introduce yourself.
Sure. Thank you so much, Erin, and thrilled to be here today. Mike Brooks, I work in management consulting with Deloitte out of our Boston office, and I was part of the BFL 2020 class. Absolutely wonderful experience, and thrilled to talk about it, although I will flag, I think that year was in many ways a little bit different than many other years. So we had a great time, to be honest. The first part of the program was in person, and then the second part was virtual, just based off what was going on at the time. But it was really interesting, and I think it was also really helpful as our firm was navigating all of the nuances of doing business in the city during that time, to have a peer group, and such a vibrant peer group, that we're already had our discussion groups going for other things, and just to be able to share notes of like, how are you looking at elevators, and are you in person, and what does your safety protocol look like, and all of these things, and it was just absolutely invaluable to have that brain trust to lean on. Yeah. Over to you, Jay.
I would say, the same. So my name is Jay York. I work at the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston. As Erin said, I class of 2024, so just graduated last night. But yeah, I would describe my experience with BFL as like really like that hands-on leadership program, and really emphasis on hands-on. One of the things I enjoyed the most about this program is like, other than other leadership programs I've been a part of, this really gives you that 10 months. It really gives you the opportunity to put into practice what you are learning in real time, right? So you can have a session at Harvard one day, and they have an opportunity maybe a month or two later to actually put into practice what you learned in that session. So I found that really, really valuable and helpful throughout the program. I also really enjoyed kind of like the civic nature of the program as well. So not just like business related issues, but also civic issues. So really get into what are the issues and problems or things we can improve in the city of Boston and throughout the greater Commonwealth. To have some time to think about that was really interesting, because I don't really get the opportunity to do that often. So being able to think about what you can do kind of in your community, where you live and where you work, was valuable as well. One of my other favorite things is, like Erin said, you really get to network with your cohort. Very, very well. Get to know your project team very, very well. So my team had a really good chemistry. We kind of chatted a lot, had our group text. It was really folks that I never would have gotten an opportunity to meet otherwise, right? So one of the individuals in my group, she's a scientist, a legit kind of chemist, and she works on developing molecules for a pharma company. I never would have met this lady outside of this BFL program working in my industry, but it really gives you opportunity to really collaborate and meet really high talented folks throughout the Boston area in different industries. So you get to learn a lot from your cohort as well.
Thank you both. So what would you say, and Jay, I know this question may change a bit as more time has passed between you and the program. So I'm going to give this to Mike first, and then Jay, give you a little bit of time to think about it. But what would you say now, this many years removed, Mike, is still your biggest takeaway from BFL?
That's a good question. Biggest takeaway, I think, has really been it's two parts. Part of it is a little bit of surprise around how much I ended up leaning on the community as much as the frameworks, because they taught all these wonderful frameworks. We're at Harvard, we're learning state-of-the-art things around navigating different situations. And I was very excited in the moment to learn and develop those skills. And then I think what's just really stood out over time is how equally valuable that brain trust has been. And so sort of a two-part answer there, but definitely the community and being able to lean on the community.
All right, Jay, first thoughts, biggest takeaway day after graduation.
Yeah. I guess I can answer more maybe tactically, since I don't have that time span from the organization, from the program. But I really enjoyed kind of like, obviously the Harvard sessions are valuable and took away a lot there. But I think the session that we did on visual thinking strategies. So that was a strategy, and I don't know if that's you all gonna do that next year, but it was like, how do you analyze art, right, and bring art and how that can unlock like creative thinking and problem solving in the business world. I thought that was a really fascinating exercise. I got a lot out of it, and I actually took that exercise and actually did it with my team the very next day. So we put up art and kind of really did the visual thinking exercise there. It really showed my team kind of like we don't have to always look at Excel graphs and charts and PowerPoints and things like that. Like that really was a way to kind of spark some creative thinking and spark some design thinking as well that we really put into practice with what we were doing. So that was the biggest takeaway for me thus far. So I thought that was really neat.
Thank you. That means a lot to me, Jay. But also really glad to hear that. And I love that what you're talking about is put that immediate implementation that I talked about in the first part of the presentation. So let's move into like what would your top tips be for the people on this call, people who are considering applying, haven't done this program, maybe don't know much about the chamber. What are your top tips for people today? And also know that this is being recorded and sent out to anybody interested in the program.
I think for me, at least, it was really making the most of the experience, virtual or in person. And I think now sometimes when there's an opportunity to blend both of those, it was the full range of experiences combined together that ended up being incredibly enjoyable. And I think really seizing every opportunity that this program presents is a unique experience and incredibly valuable.
I would echo that, Mike. I would definitely say, if you're on the fence, like just do it. There's not many leadership programs where you actually get to, put into practice like the skills that you learn during the program in real time, having the individual action project to spur something you want to work on, having the leadership challenge where you get to think about a real life kind of leadership issue and get to work on it with your group. I would say go in with an open mind as well, and really have like a clear vision of what you want to gain and contribute, because you're really in a room with like legit, this is not hyperbole, some of the, you know, brightest minds in Boston, right? So you can expect to, you know, learn just as much from your peers in the cohort, from the program itself, right? You have the Harvard professors, but you know, you might be sitting next to someone that can learn just as much from the individual you're sitting next to as well. So, you know, I think the Harvard component, you know, makes this program stand, you know, apart as far as a high value program experience. But I think the chamber program itself outside of the Harvard is just as great as a program as well. So I think the Harvard piece just the you know, the cherry on top. But you know, I think this program gives you opportunity to stay committed to your personal professional growth, whether it's in civic engagement, leadership skills, or even personal goals. I know we had a few members that worked on their personal goals for their IAP with public speaking and being more confident in that way. So really just come in with an open mind, be clear of what you want to both gain and contribute, because you'll be contributing as a high performer yourself, and really just be prepared to learn a lot and take that and bring those lessons back with you.
Thank you. I want to pause there to give an opportunity for anybody on the call to ask questions directly to the alumni. I always have more questions under my or up my sleeve, whatever the expression is, to ask them, but I'd rather devote the time if any of you have questions for them. Rob, again.
Yeah, I will fire in. Yeah, this would be more directed towards Jay, because I know she just finished the program, right? Just graduated, so congrats. What would you like to see if the program? What changes would you like to, if going through it now, that you think that could even take it up another level?
That's a good question. I would say, and you know, we as a cohort, we you know, gave some feedback last night actually on this. I think what could make this 10% better, it's just like with the leadership challenge and the overlap with the IAP. That's kind of like the timing of that could maybe conflict, or it could be better if you maybe put more at the beginning of the program. So, you know, we spoke with Aaron and Colin, we gave our feedback on that as well. But I would say maybe more opportunities to engage with the larger cohort as well, because you're also working with your smaller project team, and that really kind of becomes like your cohort within a cohort. So maybe sometimes you're just talking to your project team and not talking or getting an opportunity to network and converse with the other participants as well. Again, this is like our cohort, I think, was 73. So I was maybe had like a group of 10 that was in constant contact with, and there were 63 other individuals out there that you know really could use some more time to talk to. But you know, as Aaron and Colin said, I think there are official networking opportunities where they set it up, and you can go and make the most of that. But I would try to maybe make those connections with some folks that are outside of your project team, enjoy the program, and really make a concerted effort to maybe, hey, I haven't met you yet, you know, if we work in a similar location area, let's just go grab a coffee, learn more. After a session, maybe try to you know, network or meet some folks that are outside of your project team. That's one thing that I would probably do if I were to do this again. I'd probably do more to maybe try to network more with more folks out the programs. Again, these are 60, 70 of like the, you know, the brightest minds in Boston. And I want to pick the brain of all those people. It's like, you know, trying to have the time to do that.
Did you two, Jay, like the groups, are you just randomly assigned the people that you're in from your project? Do you form on your own?
I can, I'll take that question, Jay. So I actually myself go in and go through everybody's applications, and I try to make those groups, because at the end of the day, it's a leadership challenge. So they're trying to fix a problem from a company. So with that being said, I'm trying to make those groups as diverse as possible, whether it be industry, company, age, career experience. So I really focus on making those groups as diverse as possible. And Jane, Mike, you can obviously talk more about that. But yeah, I really try to go cross industry and make those groups just a really diverse group of thinking.
And just piling onto that, I was really impressed actually with the spread there. If you take a cross section of folks in Boston, kind of businesses, capabilities, all of that, you definitely could see, patterns. I think there's always a pretty strong representation from professional services. I think there's usually a couple lawyers, financial services, and I don't think there was repetition of kind of background or skill set in any of the groups, at least my year. And so while there was the expected kind of spread of backgrounds in the room, it was really surprising and enjoyable to see how the groups were made up.
And to speak more of that too, we actually this past cohort we had a kind of a perfect pie chart of industries. Everybody was pretty much equal on those different industries, so it was made my job a little easier on picking those groups. But yeah, it was a very diverse group this year, and we're looking to do the same next year.
Emily or Jennifer, I think both of you have been trying to ask a
So quick question, maybe to Mike on this one. It sounds like the Harvard experience is quite unique and super valuable. I'd love to hear both of your experiences on how valuable it was post program as well, if you were able to make connections there, and if there was any other additional opportunities that you were able to take on afterwards.
Jay, I'd love to hear your perspective, and I'm happy to share mine. I think my experience was great, but I'd love to hear the more recent kind of how it's feeling and settling.
Yeah, so I think that the Harvard sessions definitely the case studies that we learned, we were able to, I was personally able to take that back immediately to the team and kind of share those lessons and those leadership qualities and things that we learned throughout that those sessions directly back to my team. So when I got back from the Harvard sessions, we had a team meeting and I kind of shared out, here's, what the Harvard session was about. Here's were the takeaways. And my team really appreciated that. They felt like they were there with me throughout the Harvard sessions. So I was able to take that back. As far as other opportunities post grad. Again, I'm only 1 day post grad, but definitely plan to kind of highlight, that Harvard certificate. Right, it is legit Harvard certificate from Harvard Business School, which is very valuable just in itself. So I definitely plan on using that and promoting that to promote myself. And my worth, and maybe for next year if there are any leadership opportunities, hey, I've taken a few Harvard sessions for leadership. I think I could handle more challenges in the leadership realm. So definitely plan to highlight that and use that as a self promotion tactic as well.
Yeah, that's a good call out. It is very much an incredible credential, and I think for us it was also very interesting because due to the virtual nature of it, we could actually break off into different focus groups and different listening sessions, and then change those groups and switch around very easily and kind of go back and forth. And I think it enabled a little bit more collaboration. I mean, there's pros and cons to virtual, right? I'm sure it would have been amazing to be in the room. But at the same time, being able to be in a group chat with 100 people sharing experiences during lunch and different things like that was quite an elevated experience. And yeah, it was great.
One thing I'd like to add to that is just that, I mean, seeing a class being taught by Harvard Business School faculty is incredible. I'm a facilitator myself. I wouldn't describe myself as a teacher. It's an incomparable experience. Just from that perspective, and feeling the energy of the entire group is phenomenal. Because as Jay has said, you've got bright minds in the city of Boston coming together to dissect and analyze case studies from the business, and that's the method they use, is case study discussion. So it really is incomparable. Plus, you're there for the Harvard experience as well. You know, breakfast and lunch is provided. The first night we have a opening reception dinner. And so it is, I will tell you from our program surveys, the most popular aspect of the program, and it just gets everybody jazzed and ready for the year. And then in the fall, it kind of gets everybody back excited after a long break of not having sessions. I just wanted to add that too. And you know, Colin and I, we've done this many times, but even going back now, we're always like, yeah, it's a Harvard day. We get to go back. And each year it's different too, to see how the conversations change. The curriculum, the case studies that are presented at Harvard are sometimes the same year to year, and they also change. So Jay's Harvard case studies are not the same as what Mike did, although there's probably two that are consistent. So we talk about that with them, with the Harvard faculty each year. This is an FYI. Rob, I see your hand. Jennifer, did you have a question? No, okay. I wasn't sure if you came off mute. All right, Rob, back to you. Got a few.
You're on mute, Rob. Sorry.
Thanks. I actually want to piggyback off of Emily's questions because I interpreted it differently than the way it was answered. And I think the question would be more so directed to Mike. The way I interpreted Emily's question was, and it made me even think of it too, if not, was Mike, since being a part and getting exposure to the Harvard faculty, has that opened any doors to you since you're 4 years out in your professional experience from that? Have you built relationship with some of the actual Harvard faculty that has done so?
I think it's a good question. Thank you for clarifying it. What we really took away from that was the cohort experience of learning from the faculty. I did reach out a couple times. We had a couple back and forths. And at that time, I know the folks, when they get back to us, they're just saying that they were kind of getting a large amount of emails at the time, and we were all kind of getting used to the virtual, 10xing our email flow and not going outside the time. But I think people were very receptive, and there's definitely potential for that. I just, at that specific point in time, we're all navigating different pieces, so I can't particularly speak to that.
Thanks, Mike.
I'll just add really quickly. I think the Harvard professors that we had as well, they seem to be open to, connecting, after the program. So I do plan to maybe reach out, maybe in the next month or two to say, hey, I was part of the BFL program. Here's some of the things I took away, and maybe try to continue that relationship. But the Harvard professors, they don't treat these classes that they come in and teach, they don't treat this as this is a BFL like cohort. We are Harvard students for that day, right? They teach us, and like we are legit Harvard students. So it's not like they couldn't treat us differently like another program. We are indeed on campus, and they treat it like a true Harvard class.
Thanks, Jay.
Hey, it's fantastic discussion. Any other questions from the group for our alumni or for Colin and I?
And while you're thinking and while we're wrapping up here, I do just want to, one more time, please shoot me an email with any questions. I'm your key resource in this recruitment period. So if you have any thoughts or questions about anything at all, about the program, about the recruitment process, please feel free to shoot me a message.
Great question, Patrick, coming in. Yes, Colin is going to put the nomination form link, I already did it, in the chat. So please use that link. It will, currently our BFL webpage on the website has not been updated, but it will be this week. So use this link. Once Colin receives nominations, you'll get the application, and don't fret. So the application probably only takes you about 20 minutes to complete. We keep it short. We know you're busy professionals. So make sure you get that done and get your recommendation in. If you have any other questions after this, like, comes up you thought of something that we didn't address in this info session, reach out, happy to talk. I want to thank Mike and Jay for being here on the panel and sharing their perspectives and experiences. One thing I will say is that it is a joy for Colin and I to work with such incredible individuals. And for us, it's always really, really fun to have alumni come back because we miss them when they graduate and move on. So thank you for being here. Thank you to all of you who tuned in. And we hope to see your nominations and applications coming in. Have a good rest of your day.
Thank you, everyone.